to the Minister of Finance, and I've still to get a satisfactory reply. But I want to raise another issue here this morning, and I sent notice to the Taoiseach of this because it's a very serious matter. On August the 26th, Ceisteanna, the two back wheels of an ambulance bringing a chronically ill patient on a life support unit from Letterkenny fell off outside Sligo, and as well as the patient, there was a nurse and two anaesthetists and two paramedics in the vehicle, and only the skill of the driver prevented this incident from becoming a much more serious accident with lives lost. Subsequently, the patient died, though it's not believed that the accident played any part in this, but gCeannairí orthu. There was a delay of at least 30 minutes, understandably, while a new ambulance was sent for. The ambulance, which lost its wheels, is 8 years old. It's a Mercedes Sprinter 515 model. It has 411,000 kilometres on the clock. That's 50,000 kilometres a year. And according, and this is the nub of this question and of the concern, according to an inspection report by an independent consulting engineer and assessor, there's a serious design flaw with this model of ambulance. He reports, I quote, that the vehicle design has one major negative characteristic in the wheel stud nut design. This weakness, he says, in design can result in wheel stud failure if a sudden stress is transmitted to the vehicle via the wheel. From my experience, I would say that the wheel studs in the Mercedes 515 Sprinter are too small. So, Taoiseach, do we know how many of our ambulance fleet is made up of this model? The implications for this, or of this, for patients and paramedics and other road users is obvious. The independent report has been with the HSE for 3 weeks. Has this matter been brought to your attention? And what steps has the government taken to ensure that this matter is urgently and thoroughly investigated?
It's about a very specific matter here. In a general sense, obviously, government are very anxious to ensure that people get medical treatment as swiftly as possible, as safely as possible from the health service. And since 2011, there's been a pretty major change programme underway to reconfigure the way that pre-hospital emergency care services are delivered throughout the country. Clearly, great progress has been made, but still there's a deal of further work to be done. For instance, in 2015, the National Ambulance Service, the money allocated there was 144 million, serving 4.6 million people, responds to 300,000 ambulance calls a year, employs over 1,600 staff across 100 locations, got a fleet of 500 different vehicles, including emergency ambulances, rapid response vehicles, intermediate care vehicles, motorbikes, and the Dublin Fire Brigade ambulances are included in all of that. Clearly, the programme is continuing to evolve and to change. You raise a very specific case, Deputy. I asked for a report on this, and I have a preliminary report here. The National Ambulance Service can confirm that an ambulance broke down near Ballindine, County Mayo, on the Mayo-Galway border, at 14:10 hours, 10 minutes past 2, on the 26th of August 2015. Two of the vehicle's rear wheels had dislodged from the vehicle while transferring a patient from Letterkenny General Hospital to University College Hospital, Galway. There was a patient on board, as you mentioned, at the ambulance at the time, as well as two paramedics and a doctor and a nurse. An ambulance was immediately dispatched to the incident and arrived at the scene at 14:15, that is 5 minutes after the incident happened, and the driver took the appropriate action. The patient, medical personnel and one of the paramedics travelled in the second ambulance to University College Hospital, Galway, and the patient arrived safely at 15:05, at 3 minutes past 5. And the ambulance from which the wheels had dislodged was recovered from the scene for further investigation and examination. I would point out that there was no deviation at all from the care and attention being given to the patient in question. I think it's important to say that. Now, I can confirm for you that the ambulance service are carrying out a comprehensive investigation to determine what exactly happened here and why this breakdown occurred. And that investigation will deal with the following: interviews with all of the staff members who operated the vehicle concerned during the transfer of the patient to Galway. Obviously, the driver took appropriate and careful action, which resulted in as I say, no adverse deviation from the care of the patient being provided. Secondly, a detailed examination of the vehicle by an independent engineer to determine the nature of the breakdown. And thirdly, an examination of the vehicle's service and maintenance history to see how that has lived up. Now, the vehicle, as you mentioned, is an 07. The mileage or the kilometre reading was 411,786. Stationed at Letterkenny. The engine was replaced on the 17th of the 8th, 2010 at 165,000 kilometres, and again on the 16th of the 2nd, 2015 at 390,000 kilometres. The preliminary findings for Deputy Adams' information suggest that the wheel nuts loosened, which consequently resulted in the wheels becoming dislodged. This is a cause of extreme concern to the NAS. And an urgent examination of the particular vehicle is being undertaken, and any necessary corrective action obviously will be undertaken there. When I drove my own car, it happened once that the wheel became dislodged, and the reason being that the change from wheel braces to air tightening of nuts resulted in somebody not doing a job properly. Thank you, Deputy Healray. And I'm quite sure, Deputy Adams, that they will determine the real cause of this, whether it was inadvertently not tightening nuts properly or whether they were the wrong configuration. In any event, I suppose it's a good look that the driver took appropriate action, was in charge of his vehicle, that another ambulance arrived within 5 minutes, and the patient was brought safely to UCHG.
Thank you.
With no change of or lack of attention to the patient in question.
Deputy Adams. 1 minute.
I have to say I'm very disappointed with your answer, Taoiseach. It is of interest to the nation that the wheel came off your car one time. It's nothing to do with the question that I raised. The independent assessment, I have it. It says very, very clearly that there is a weakness in design. So the independent assessor has pinpointed that in this particular model of ambulance there's a weakness in design. And my question was, what steps have the government taken to ensure that this matter is urgently dealt with? Now, I understand that some staff in the Sligo area are refusing to drive this particular model of ambulance. You may also be aware that there was a similar incident in March 2014 in County Louth. The week before, there was another such incident in the Midwest. And earlier that year, the Dublin Fire Brigade's ambulance lost a wheel. Now, I don't know whether these ambulances were the same model as that which lost its wheels last month on the way from Donegal to Galway. But clearly this is a question that needs to be answered. We have continuously in Sinn Féin made the case that your government has presided over the erosion of our public services, and this incident is another example of the lack of proper investment. And this is most crucially felt in rural Ireland. Even the fact that a patient has to be transported from Donegal to Galway illustrates the deficiencies in your health policy. Now, the questions are quite specific, and I'm not trying to score political points in terms of the particular report that has been made by the independent assessor.
Thank you, Deputy.
Michael, he says clearly there's a weakness in design in this particular model. So, ambulance users, hospital users, ambulance crews need to be assured that vehicles with this weakness in design are removed from service and replaced. That's number one. Two, we need to know how many ambulances have lost their wheels, and are they as a result of this weakness in design. This report has been on the desk of the HSE for 3 weeks now. What has it done since then? It doesn't need to be, a convoluted process. It has been identified as a weakness of design. What has it done to ensure that there's no reoccurrence of this dreadful incident?
Taoiseach.
Well, I know it's of no interest to you what happened in my own personal case. All I'm saying to you is that if... thank you. I appreciate that. All I'm saying to you is that when you investigate something, there's a reason why a wheel comes off. Obviously, if the nuts are the wrong configuration or they're not put on properly, then that happens. Now, I'm informed, and I don't know whether you've got the independent engineer's report that you're quoting from there. Yes, I'd appreciate having it. Okay. It's actually, I suppose, a tribute to your own sources of information that you have the final report from the engineer, and I've got a preliminary report. Thank you. The point, Deputy Adams, I understand that the ambulances, the Mercedes ambulances that are in the NAS fleet comply fully with maintenance and service records, and I understand that the independent report that you quote from there has been acted upon. And it is a matter of serious concern to the NAS that something like this should happen, and I commend the driver involved. I think that you mentioned in your initial question that there was a 40-minute delay. I'm informed by the NAS that it was a 5-minute between. Am I wrongly informed?
Please.
So what I have here, Deputy McLaughlin, is not correct. I'm informed here. And
excuse me.
I'm quoting from this.
There's a time limit on this question. We're already 4 minutes over time on this question.
The ambulance was immediately dispatched to the incident and arrived at the scene at 14:15. And the wheels dislodged at 14:10. Now, if you've got different information than me, then we need to determine that as well. And thank you for that information, Deputy McLaughlin.
Thank you.
So this is a matter of serious concern, Deputy Adams. Let me confirm to you, from my information here, that the independent report has been acted upon and that all Mercedes ambulances in the fleet comply with the maintenance and service records fully.
Thank you. Deputy Fitzmaurice, thank you.
Taoiseach